Today's adventure is to learn to use this, the Brother FB100. It's a floppy disk drive, and although elderly, they still do a lot for us, which is mainly to add to the memory capacity of the Brother electronic machines. I'm going to be trying it out on the Brother 930, which does not have a great deal of built-in memory, so this is a perfect companion. To begin with, both the knitting machine and the floppy drive should be in the off position. The FB100 will run on batteries if you want it to. They're AA's and they fit in this compartment, covered, of course, by a normal battery case cover. It goes on that way. I am not going to use batteries today. I'm going to plug it in with the AC adapter. The book suggests that, as with most convertible devices, if you're not going to use the batteries for a while or you're going to use the adapter, simply remove the batteries. One end of your flat power cord plugs in to one side of the FB100 and the other side, and you're looking at it upside down as though we were craning our necks over the knitting machine, plugs into a port on the machine. I only have the 930 to work with right now. All of the ports will be similar, but they may not be positioned identically to this one. On the 930, I'm near the right-hand end, only about 8 inches away. When you are done using the unit, power it off again before disconnecting from the knitting machine. And I would assume it's always wiser to power the knitting machine down too. And here is the DIN plug that goes into the opening on the disk drive to connect the AC power unit. Let's name off some parts. Disk in out bar, which is opened with the eject button, access lamp, on off button, low battery signal. Some important notes that you might miss in the disk manual: don't touch the surface directly by opening that metal part. Don't use near magnetic materials, and it needs to be at a normal room temperature. With the machine still off, I'm going to show you how the disk goes in case you're too young to remember how this worked. Just push it in, close the door, eject opens it, and spits it out. Apparently this is all mechanical because without the power unit on, it works. It does matter that the disk be placed in right side up, which is as you see it. Before turning on, make sure that the slot is empty, no disk is in it, and the bar is down. Have a look at this real disk and compare it to this diagram. This area is what locks the disk so it cannot be erased by accident. At present, it is in the unlocked position. The way it's worded here, first of all, who would call it a red pinch? Not I, but that's got to be what they mean. And right now, it's up and therefore unlocked, and the data can be written to it and erased from it. But in this position, it cannot, and it will move back and forth. As with most features of these electronic machines, the order is very specific. On with this button, insert and close. On with the knitting machine. Come over to the console and hit CE so that everything clears out. Now let's set up to use a pattern on the disk. Machine on, clear, 551. That is the command to use the disk. Step. Now we need to know what track number we're going to use on the disc. Let's select 1, step, and move the carriage all the way across, set on KC1. There we go. I don't actually know what this pattern would produce. I'm going to go off camera and experiment a little bit with that. Well, look at that. An extremely attractive Fair Isle pattern. Took me a minute to figure out that it was indeed Fair Isle and what I wanted to do with it, but it's very, very pretty. So let's try another one to make sure that we've got this right. I've already switched the disk drive on, machine on, clear, 551, step. This time let's tell it to read track 2. Step. This time, did you hear that? I was able to hear the drive engage. I didn't hear it last time. Needles have been selected. Look at that, very dramatic. Now both of these have longish floats, this one in particular more than long-ish. So what I think I will do to make them useful fabric is turn them into lined hats. That's a subject for another day. 551 is the code that sends a design from your drive to your console and allows you to knit it, which we just did. 552, if input here, saves a design that we've created using this console and sends it to the disk so that we can use it again later over and over. That's something else that I'll have to do for you on another day, assuming I'm able to find new floppy disks. 553, input on this console, is what allows you to erase patterns that are on a disk. I am not going to be doing that. I certainly am not going to erase any of my friends' disks, and if I go to all the trouble to save a pattern, I'm not erasing mine either. Before we stop, off, off. Now we can eject and safely get the disc out. Reminder of how the disc goes in. Most of them have a little arrow positioned as that one is. Want to go on an adventure? I don't know if there's another track on this. We'll find out. On. Clear. 551. Step. Let's tell it track 3. Step. And I'll set it to KC and knit across past the turn mark. So at this point we begin to proceed as for any pattern knitting. The design that we want has been stored, I think, in the RAM of the console and is ready for us to use it. So we simply turn to KC1 and push the carriage to pass the turn mark on the left side. Yup, clearly there's a pattern 3. Now a quick little troubleshooting discussion. My original intention was not to use the batteries and just to plug it in. However, it turned out I only had one outlet available and the machine needed that. So I put in the batteries and it wouldn't turn on. Now it could be they were bad batteries, so I got fresh ones. But also, I'm trying to get this where you can see it. You know, there are little springs that secure the batteries. That one that you can see here, it's still a little bit bent. It was more bent, and the batteries were not sitting in there straight and securely. It's entirely possible that that was causing them to make poor contact, and I was able to reach in like you see me doing and just nudge it straighter with a finger. And after that, the battery sat in there normally. Also, remember, it goes flat end to the spring, pointy end away from it. The bottom ones are aligned as you see this one going in. The top ones, you see a flat plate here, so the spring logically must be on this end, and they go in like this. Small little things can really mess you up, and that would have done it. Just something to be aware of.